Hey folks, welcome back to the Leeds Gamer. It's match review time. Just before I get into the details, do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Do please give the video a like and a hype, and also please hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. It was Leeds United versus Burnley. Leeds have come away with a 3-1 victory, and if we go straight onto the Premier League table here, Leeds have played 35 games now, so there's just 3 remaining. But we're now in double figures for wins, so it's 10 wins, 13 draws, 12 losses, scoring 47 goals, conceding 52, minus 5 goal difference, 43 points on the board, and quite a nice form of the last 5 games now in the league. We're looking at a draw, win, win, draw and a win. And our next opponents are Tottenham Hotspur, who, as you can see there, are in quite a bit of trouble. They did get a win against Wolves, but wasn't the most convincing performance apparently. They've now got Aston Villa, who are currently in the top 5. So that is not going to be an easy game for Tottenham. And they've lost Xavi Simons to an injury that keeps him out for the rest of the season. So things don't get any better for Tottenham, which is obviously great news for Leeds, of course. In terms of the other teams in and around that area, so as I mentioned, Tottenham have got Villa next. West Ham have got a London derby against Brentford, who are currently 9th, comfortably mid-table, but they're not in great form, are they? They've had 4 draws and a loss, so no win in the last 5 for Brentford. Nottingham Forest, they're in good form, very much like Leeds at the moment. Their next match is a game against Chelsea, who obviously sat Rosenia and have got McFarlane for the rest of the season. And without being spectacular in the cup against Leeds, Chelsea did play a little bit better under McFarlane than what they were ever doing under Rosenia. As you can see, in terms of league form, they've lost the last 5 consecutive games. They've been useless. So that's that. And you could, you could argue that Forest could probably beat Chelsea based on that. Newcastle are now getting dragged into it slowly. Their form, as you can see, is not amazing either, losing the last 4 consecutive games. With 1 win just before that. They've got to face Brighton, who are currently 6th. And Brighton, oh God, they've got 4 wins and a draw in the last 5. So that's not going to be easy for Newcastle, who have lost a lot of games, really. They've lost 16 games this season, compared to Leeds only losing 12. It's just the fact that they've got a couple of extra wins and they haven't drawn many. So, this really is on. I mean, from a Leeds perspective, if they'd been a bit tighter defensively and been a bit more clinical tonight against Burnley, Leeds could have actually gone ahead of Crystal Palace and gone all the way up from 15th to 13th, at least temporarily. Which would have looked even better. But 43 points. I mean, I didn't think we were going to go down once we reached 40, quite frankly. Surely we're not going to go down on 43. And quite frankly, I think we will actually get more points on the board between now and the end of the season. We've got to face both Tottenham and West Ham. I think we can beat both of those. And then we've got Brighton in the middle of all that, and I think we can get a draw against them. As good as they are at the moment, I think we could nick a draw. So that would finish us on 50 points, which is exactly what Brighton currently have. I don't think it's unrealistic. The wins come against teams that are currently below us, and then the draw comes against a team that are currently very well organised and are playing pretty well, by all accounts. But it is at Elland Road, the game against Brighton, I think. Fairly sure it is. We'll have a look at the fixtures. But let's just review the match from tonight. So Leeds versus Burnley, as you can see there, finished 3-1. The Anton Stack goal, superb pass from Yacobiol, and what a strike. You couldn't fit a piece of paper between the ball and the post. It never touched the post, but you couldn't fit a piece of paper between the ball and the post once it went in over the goal line. Fantastic shot from about 30 yards out. Really good hit from Anton Stack, really clean. So that was excellent. The Okafor goal, really well worked actually. Lovely back heel from Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Basically set Jadon Bogle up to put in a peach of a cross. And Noah Okafor with a really well controlled shot, hit it into the ground, and strong enough to get beyond Dubravka. The third goal, bit of a scrappy one, but ultimately a shot comes in from Leeds. I think it was Tanaka. Decent shot, decent save from Dubravka initially, but then there's a scrap to get to the ball. There's both DCL and I think it was Yacobiol, along with a Burnley defender and Dubravka himself trying to get to the ball, but it was DCL's toe end that his outstretched leg got onto it first with a tidy finish, and at 3-0 I really thought that we were going to go on and get a clean sheet and maybe get a couple of, at least one if not two more goals, and that would have propelled us above Palace as well. But for some weird reason we had a period in the game where we just we sat back a bit too much. We allowed Burnley to get on the ball and to attack a bit more, and in the end Chauner scored a pretty decent strike, and that was annoying. It's probably my only criticism of the game, that we didn't really take the bull by the horns and give Burnley a good walloping. Bit like the Wolves game. Pretty solid first half, and then second half, or certainly a period of the second half, we just looked off it for some reason. But let's have a look at a few things here. So we'll go to the lineups first. So Leeds started with Carl Darlow in goal, Jadon Bogle right wing back, Joe Rodham right centre back, Yacobiol central centre back, and Pascal Struijk left centre back, with James Justin coming in at left wing back to cover for the injured Gabriel Gudmundsson. And again, James Justin hasn't done all wrong in the match, but we miss Gabby, and this would have been a good match for Gabby. I think the way that the match panned out, I think Gabby would have had a lot of joy on that left side. I really do. Even against Walker, who is still pretty quick, even at 35 or whatever he is these days. So the midfield then was Ethan Ampadu, Outenacker and Anton Stack, and then up front Noah Okafor supporting Dominic Calvert-Lewin. For Burnley it was Dubravka in goal, full-backs Kyle Walker and Quillian Hartman. The back three then was Humphreys, Esteve and Ekdal. Midfield of former Leeds loanee Jadon Anthony, Liam Chauner on the right, with Josh Laurent and James Ward-Prowse in the middle, with Zion Fleming up front. And they were similar to Wolves. They were dirt average, really average. I mean, as I say, a small period in the second half, just like Wolves, where they actually looked like they were giving a little bit of fight, but they were confirmed as relegated just after the result in the previous match. So they were actually able to play with a bit of freedom, but they'd also lost Scott Parker, so you didn't really know what you were going to get from Burnley tonight. But I certainly feel that Leeds were the better team and certainly deserved the win as a bare minimum. In terms of subs, Leeds brought on Lucas Metcher, Brendan Aronson and Sean Longstaff, and then late on in the game the two wingers Dan James and Wilfred Nonto. From a Burnley perspective, that horrible nasty little twit Mejbri came on, and then Florentino Luis, Lucas Perez, Armando Broja and Zeki Amdouni, who had been unavailable for Burnley for God knows how long. From a bench point of view, there was a moment in the match where Dubravka, I think it was on Leeds' third goal, so he kind of clashed with the other players involved, and it looked as if there was a brief moment where maybe Burnley would have considered bringing on Max Weiss. Dubravka didn't look in a good way at all, and it disappointed me that we didn't really try and, get loads of shots on goal at that point. Whilst Dubravka's feeling it, get some attacking going on. Why the hell not? The other subs not to come on for them were Joe Worrell, Ugachukwu and Edwards. From a Leeds perspective, goalkeeper Lucas Perry, Sam Byram, Seb Bornow, and at one point I thought Joe Roden looked like he might need to come off, so I was thinking, right, well, Seb Bornow might come on, but it never happened. And then Joel Pirot. In terms of the match stats, surprisingly, Burnley had more possession overall, albeit it was a tale of two halves on that one. Leeds more possession first half, Burnley more possession second half, which again was a very similar outcome to Wolves. The match tonight had a very similar feel to the Wolves match. It really did. In terms of everything else, though, Leeds kind of dominated pretty much everything else, apart from passing. That was the other thing that Burnley did a little bit more of than Leeds. But as you can see there, Leeds double what Burnley provided from an attacking intent. Burnley didn't come with much attacking intent today. Not in my opinion, anyway. And you can see, we dominated the expected, the XG stuff as well. Defensively, you'd expect Burnley's stats to be bigger than Leeds', albeit Leeds had more interceptions. From a passing point of view, quite even across the board, actually. Leeds had a few good things, Burnley had a few good things. And then 4 yellow cards to Leeds, 3 to Burnley. And Thomas Bramall should never referee another Leeds United game. He is dreadful. He's a awful referee. Couple of moments where I couldn't understand how he's booked the Leeds players for a couple of their challenges, but then doesn't book Burnley's for challenges that are, in my opinion, worse than what Leeds had done. So he's a very poor, blinkered, one-dimensional referee, is Bramall. He really is. So I hope he never referees Leeds again. Certainly not this season, anyway. So, yeah, I mean, when you look at it all, if we look at Leeds, let's have a look at what Leeds have got remaining fixture-wise now, actually. Because we've got Tottenham next, so let's have a look at Tottenham's home record. As you can see, Leeds' home record is very solid for the season. 18 home games played, 8 wins, 5 draws, 5 losses. Scoring 28, conceding 21 plus 7 goal difference and 29 points scored at home. That's not to be sniffed at. That's a very solid return from Elland Road this season so far. And I think we still got one more home game remaining, I think. I hope. But from a Tottenham point of view, which is our next match, obviously it's not Tottenham's next match, but Tottenham have only won 2 games at home all season. 5 draws. They have lost 10 games. Scored 20, but they've conceded 30. A minus 10 goal difference and 11, just 11 points scored at home. Second worst in the entire division. Now, Leeds' away form is not much better, if truth be told. Leeds are still 18th in the away table, so we're only slightly better away than what Tottenham are at home. But some of the away performances have been a bit better from Leeds in recent times. So, from a Leeds point of view, we've got to Leeds' fixtures, because there's not much remaining now. We know we're out of the cups, so it's just the league to go. So we've got Tottenham next. The fact that it's not until the 11th of May might be a good thing, because it gives Leeds' players a chance to be able to try and get fit. Because I think Okafor was limping, which was a worry after this game. Obviously Gudmundsson is out injured. I mean, like Okafor and Gudmundsson on left side, I mean, they work so well together. So that is a problem, and I would be so hopeful if Leeds can possibly get both of those boys back fit. And they've got 10 days. They've got 10 days now to get themselves fit for then, if at all possible. Then we've got our one remaining home game, Sunday 17th. That's against Brighton. That's where I think Leeds will get a draw. I think we'll beat Tottenham. I think we can beat them 2-1. I'm going for a 2-1 win against Tottenham. Against Brighton, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. And then I think away at West Ham, a lot of that will depend on whether West Ham still need some points to stay up. But I'm going to go with an air of confidence. Let's go for a 2-1 win in that one as well. Final game at season, you never know, do you? It's all dependent on who's fit and available for that last match of the season for everybody, isn't it? For every team. One final crack at getting those magical 3 points. And that, that could be crucial, couldn't it? It really could. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it there, folks. Don't want to go into too much detail outside of the actual match itself. Just from a general standpoint, actually, I'll tell you who in my opinion stood out. For Burnley, probably Anthony and Chauner. There were brief moments where they looked okay, but certainly nothing spectacular by any stretch of the imagination. Apart from the two shots that Chauner had, I think Chauner had the offside goal as well. From a Leeds point of view, it says there Okafor did go off injured and he was limping, so that's bad news. He's got 10 days to recover. Hopefully it's not serious. He was walking at the end of the game, he was just limping. But from a Leeds point of view, DCL got himself a goal and almost an assist. It was like a sub-assist, if you like. In the right place at the right time for his goal. And as I say, did the back heel that led to Bogle getting the assist for the Okafor goal. Anton Stark, brilliant, and probably deserved the man of the match. I think that goal on 8 minutes was a absolutely brilliant strike, and did a lot of good stuff in the match. Tanaka made one mistake in the match, but he made up for it straight after, and then did 2 or 3 more moments where he looked good, and was he just put in the right shift today. Did our Tanaka, so that was pleasing to see. Bogle and Justin got forward and were an absolute nuisance for the Burnley defence at times. Fleming was non-existent. That's another number 9 to put in Yakabiel's pocket. Yeah, it was non-effective, Fleming, to be honest. Darlow didn't have a lot to do. To be quite frank, didn't have a lot to do at all. Strauch and Roden, yeah, again, they didn't have a right lot to deal with. As I said, what they had to deal with for the most part was Chauner and Anthony. It was Chauner and Anthony that were trying to create for Burnley, but they didn't. Burnley certainly first half didn't come to try and beat Leeds. I think the team talk at half time just put them up a gear or so, but it wasn't anything that Leeds couldn't deal with overall. So yeah, there we go. I'll leave it there, folks. Big thank you for watching. Do please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please give the video a like and a hype, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. But as I say, big thank you for watching. Really appreciate the support. Tell your friends and family if they're interested in Leeds United content. Send them my way. But I really appreciate the support. In the meantime, have a good one, folks. See you next time. Bye for now.